research on the Constitution, and particularly, okay, try that again. Researching the Founders' Constitution can be a very daunting task. There are literally hundreds of thousands of pages of research that one could do, many different kinds of sources, both secondary and primary. So I'm going to go over some of the basic sources that we can use for this moot court project that we're doing for the class. The best place to start is the Georgia State University Library webpage, which is right here. Now, from this page, if you go to Research Guides, which is here, and then search for History 4470. Up will pop History 4470. This is under the old title of the class, Legal and Constitutional History. If you click on this, it will take you to the basic guide for History 4470. Now, what we have done is we have several general reference works that I think are worth everybody looking at. For instance, the Encyclopedia of the Supreme Court of the United States, a wonderful place to start. The Oxford Guide to the United States Supreme Court Decisions, Ealing and Hall. These are all, by the way, reference works which are available either in the law library, for instance here the Encyclopedia of the Supreme Court of the United States, available only in the law reference collection, or available in the general stacks. You all have had experience now reading Supreme Court opinions, so you should probably know that reference guides are a great place to start. They distill information for you very quickly so that you don't have to dig through sources for the actual source material for what might be very basic information. Now, within this, there are several things that are worth looking at immediately. First is the Founders' Constitution, which I have a couple of links to in the class. It's an online resource available through the University of Chicago, and it's a great starting point for research. There are several other resources that will help you with primary research, and I'm going to walk you through a couple of them today. Now, you'll notice, for instance, that here we have a number of different tabs up here that will take you to different things. So, for instance, if you go to books, it takes you to the Jill Find and shows you some of the different subject headings that you might use if you were looking for books. If you go to articles, they will take you to the major databases in which you can find articles that might be on the subject matter that you're looking for. Under primary sources, you will find several very important ones. And these are actually going to be resources that I do expect you to use. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of these. We'll start with LexisNexis Academic. LexisNexis Academic is a very powerful, very large database that allows you to do full text searches of historical source material as well as other things as well, but for our purposes, historical materials. It's a full text search, and that's both a positive and a negative. That is, when you do a keyword search, you're searching the entire text of everything that you're looking for. So keep that in mind. It makes it easy to get too much information, but also very easy to find information as well. Searches in LexisNexis are a little bit confusing when you get started, but with a little bit of practice, it's actually quite easy. First of all, the way the page works, LexisNexis Academic allows you to search various things. For instance, information on companies, newspapers, for which it has a full text service, and legal cases. For the legal cases portion, you can look up a very particular case. For instance, if you go to Prigg v. Pennsylvania, if you can see I've already looked this up on Lexis, if you do this, you'll actually pop up the case, if the case can be found directly in its entirety. So if there's a case called Prigg v. Pennsylvania, it will come up. Now, let's go back to the home page here. If you want to do an historical search of material, here's how you do it. Go to Search by Content Type, go down to Legal, and Federal and State Cases. Once you click on this, it will take you to several different ways in which you can can search for things. There are already pre-done topics on obviously very important current issues. So in our case, we're going to go to we're going to look at the period of time between 1787 and 1860. So we're going to historically limit it to the period in which we're looking, and we're going to go ahead and search through all federal and state courts for that period. So we're going to apply these limitations, and then we're going to enter the term slave. So we're going to find out, remember we're doing a full text search, so we're going to find out what this returns. And the answer is 684 cases appear in federal and state courts that are indexed by LexisNexis between 1787 and 1860 that contain the word slave. So this is obviously too many for us to really look at, so we're going to start trying to narrow it down. And we'll go to fugitive. Oh, I'm sorry, I should more than 3,000 results. Okay, so there. Searching through that, and through that looks actually returns 8. So this would give you a place to start. Now actually, because of the way this worked, I'm going to show you a different way to do this search that'll produce something a little bit different. So if I go back to edit search here, and instead of searching for slave, I search for fugitive slave. Now it has produced 130 results where the words fugitive slave appear. Now, what's very important here is to understand that searching for text does not necessarily mean you turn up all fugitive slave cases when you do this search. There's several ways in which you might miss a case. One might be that it's not indexed by LexisNexis. They're pretty complete in terms of all the materials they have, but not entirely complete. The second way is if, for instance, the word fugitive slave doesn't appear. So if just the word fugitive appears, or if fugitive Negro appears. In other words, you have to think about what the text is that you're actually searching for when you make a search through LexisNexis. But otherwise, this is how LexisNexis works. It's a very powerful tool, and one which you can use to get a lot of cases that come out of a variety of different different courts. Let me show you one other thing that you can do. I go back to edit search again. We've got fugitive slave. We're going to click open the advanced options, and rather than searching for all federal and state courts, we're just going to use for the U.S. Supreme Court and all federal courts. So we're going to leave the state courts out of it for this. We're just going to search for these in these federal courts, and then we'll find out how many that turns up. 39 cases appear in the federal and state cases in this period. So this should give you an idea of precisely how the LexisNexis search works. The other term you can use, I'm going back now to the research guide here. The other source which will be tremendously helpful is Hein Online. And Hein Online contains scanned rather than translated documents. Now, when you go to Hein Online, this is available through the College of Law database. So you have to log on. And then if you are on a GSU computer, it should log you directly on. If you're not, then you have to use your library ID and password. And if you have any questions about this, go to the reference desk of the library or text somebody there. They have plenty of ways for you to figure this out, but don't text me asking how to do it. I'm not a technical guy that way. Once you are here, there are a number of collections which will be useful to you. The Law Journal Library covers law reviews. The U.S. Supreme Court Library is actually where I have downloaded all of the Supreme Court cases in their original text that I've used for the class. So you can use that as well. And there's actually just tons of other things that are helpful. The Session Laws Library, for instance, contains all of the state statutes virtually going back to the founding. So it's a very powerful resource. There's a variety of other resources here which are helpful, and so you can use those for research as well. So Hein Online is the second one. There are also other ones which are helpful as well. There are, for instance, we have newspapers which are available through 19th century U.S. newspapers. We have available through the Library of Congress, another resource which will be tremendously helpful. In fact, there's several digital collections available through the Library of Congress. One is A Century of Lawmaking for a New Nation. The other is Slaves and the Court, 1740 to 1860, which will actually be a very helpful thing for you because it includes Library of Congress pamphlets, which were published between 1772 and 1889. So you can go and search that. But for legal research, A Century of Lawmaking for a New Nation is a very powerful resource. And what they've done is digitized almost a century's worth of congressional materials and constitutional materials. So it really goes back to the Continental Congress and the Constitutional Convention. The journals of the Continental Congress are published here, the letters of the delegates to Congress, and then, importantly, Farren's Records and Eliot's Debates. We start with Farren's Records. These are the records of the Federal Convention of 1787. They are in 3 volumes, and they were collected by Max Farrand back in 1911, and they involve all of the different records that we have that connect to the Federal Convention. So you can look at either the general index, or you can browse them, volumes 1, 2, and 3. And if you go, for instance, to volume 2, you can do it one of 2 ways. You can look at a scanned page. You can also look at the actual page image. If you do it this way and you're not looking at it in terms of an index, then this is what you see. You know, they have the journal. So for Saturday, July 14, 1787, if you read Farren's record, it'll show you everything that's coming and then also give you the source. So some of them come from the journal, others come from, say, Madison's notes, but virtually everything you would want out of the convention is available through this. If you back up here, there's Farren's Records, and we go back to the lawmaking again. There's also Eliot's Debates. This has been superseded. This records some of the debates in the conventions, and I would highly recommend you look at the documentary history of the ratification of the Constitution, available in the law school library, beautifully indexed, and virtually anything you would want from the ratification era. Now, also you get the statutes at large, American state papers. These are all official documents about the laws which are passed, as well as the official journals of Congress and the debates that are recorded in the Annals of Congress, the Register of Debates, the Congressional Globe, etc. And you can look at this on your own, but once you click on it, it will tell you precisely where it works. The Annals of Congress covers the first Congress through the 18th from 1789 to 1824. You keep going up and you will see the further debates which are collected. So you can locate a lot of the information regarding Congress as well as the Constitutional Convention from this lawmaking home. There are, of course, other resources which are available here, and they've all been collected. And if you start your research by going to this page and looking through what's available, you will have plenty of opportunities to do research. But I again urge you to work from the basic encyclopedias and other reference sources through this primary research. If you do, you will save yourself an immense amount of time, you will make your research far more productive, and it will be a much more fruitful research experience.